Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I just saw someone say they're seeing an error in the YouTube window. If that is true, can you post in the comments and let me know? I really hope there isn't an error on the YouTube channel. We do get some weird things going on sometimes with YouTube. We did something the other day with Boyan and it did not work. And that was streaming to his channel. I have actually given him the ability to replay now, so he's quite pleased about that. But if you're getting an error, then just let me know. Richard Haddle says it's 5 p.m. because Terry was asking him. 5 p.m. in the UK until this weekend, and then it's going to be starting at 6 p.m. UK time and UTC as well. So next week, right, isn't it? Yeah. Next week, the clocks change in Europe, and there will be a difference. So UTC will still be the same, but obviously UK and things like that. Well, okay, so can I open the report to quality.embarcadero? No, not if it's a YouTube channel. They're not going to get. Richard's in the UK in the Midlands. Yep. We had a big argument the other day about being northern to one of my other friends who comes from Coventry. I used to live in I used to live in Warwick, actually. And people always just say, oh, you're a northerner. I'm a Londoner, but if you're a Londoner, there's an old joke that anything north of the M25 means that they're a northerner. So it's quite funny. Hi across the bay. Ooh. So that was Martin, is also from Quebec. And also Paul, I know you're going to be watching on the replay, Paul Jackson. Hello, Paul. Paul emailed me and said, I can't be live today. I'm very sad. Well, he couldn't join us live, but hello, Paul. A special shout out to you because I know you're here every week. Oh, wow. So many people joining. Sorry, I ate some bread a little while ago with one of these seeds in it and nuts and things like that. So that was probably a bad idea. Hello from Hungary. Dzień dobry from Warsaw in Poland. Hello from Agadir. Hello from Brazil. My word, you're coming from everywhere. Hello from Switzerland, Gregor. There's some very, very good MVP in Switzerland. Christoph Schneider, who does quite often join. A favourite weekend for the Somniacs, 1 hour less to toss in bed, yes, and toss and turn in bed, indeed, yes. If you suffer from insomnia, I sympathise with you. I don't actually. Hi from Alec and Alan in Warwick. Hello, Alan. I used to live in Warwick. I used to live down Castle Street. I also lived in a few other places as well. So I know Warwick very well. I used to be an IT manager at Dictaphone when they were Dictaphone on Regent Street in Leamington Spa. So I know Warwick very, very well. I am from Algeria. Excellent. Northern starts at Watford, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Yeah, although my father was a Geordie, so not really. He would say, "That's not north." Clarkston in Michigan, from Algeria, yes. Porto, Cesar Lopez. Hello, Cesar. Hi from Austria, Thomas. Hello, Thomas. Hope you're doing well. Alvin says, hi from the Dominican Republic. Here we developed a software for cooperatives using Delphi and complement it with an Android app and a web app using now D2 Bridge framework and everything. Yes, I need to talk to the guy from D2 Bridge. I hope he had a few disagreements with someone, and so I've not been able to talk about his project just because there was some stuff going on, but hopefully he's resolved that. If he has, I'm quite happy to talk about his project, but I need a reassurance because I don't want to get involved in any arguments. Hello from Algeria. Is MCP coming to Delphi? Do you have any service? MCP? Let me know what that is. I'm not sure what that is. Email me. Hello from Germany. Hello from Ireland, Stephen K. I won't do the accent because people hate me. And Gaza, as usual, from a slightly chilly Leeds in the UK. Yes, I apologise for the horrible weather in the UK. I'm not responsible. I'm British, so I don't control the weather. And Miguel in Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, fantastic. The home of the Carnival, which is really great news. I have to say, I have a very, very, very packed set of slides today. And in fact, as you're aware that the webinar today is all about who uses Delphi. And the problem I had was not finding people that use Delphi, but that there were too many people using Delphi to fit into a webinar comfortably, because it was just an insane amount of things going on. Antalya, that's Turkey, isn't it? Yeah, I'm sure that's in Turkey. Hello there. And Nigeria as well, just to round off all the countries we've got. We've got so many people. But yes, and Argentina, of course, is there. So yeah, really, my problem was not that I couldn't find people using Delphi, because that's not true. And I'm going to show you some statistics of things and blow people's minds. And if you work in a place where they go, oh, why are you still using Delphi? Today, I'm going to give you some ammunition to really fight back and go, look at this. Here's some facts. Here's some figures, and make you feel a little bit better about these people that are just rude about Delphi. And I don't understand it. What are they scared of when they say, oh, nobody uses Delphi? Oh, Delphi's so old-fashioned. Oh, Delphi. Are you worried that we're going to, I'm going to absolutely, convert you to talking about Delphi and you'll somehow be cursed for the rest of your life? It's absolute nonsense. I really don't understand why there's this negativity sometimes. Now, I must talk about a few things. First of all, GDK are doing this world tour. Well, it's kind of like a city to city in the US tour already, for AI training. If you scan that code, you'll go and read all about that AI training. If you want to know more about AI in our products, in Embarcadero's products, or you want to know about how to put AI in your own programs, then I can thoroughly recommend these guys. They really know their stuff. As you're aware, GDK sponsored the Delphi Summit, which I'll put the code up for in a minute. But they are jetting around. What's the word I'm looking for? Traveling around and offering AI training. So if you're interested in learning more about AI, I said I'd talk about it to them, because they're very big supporters of Delphi. They even have it written on one of their buildings, one of their offices. We are Delphi on their offices. You say that, I'm going to help you out and make sure that people get aware of your stuff. While we're on the subject of training courses and various things as well, here's another one, which is some very cool Brazilian events that are happening. And these are being run by, now I did make some notes because they came along and said a whole bunch of things. Where did I put my notes? Let me just close this for a second. Right, so this is Wagner Landgraf, who is a very, very well-respected guy as a developer. GDK Brazil, so Ricardo Borro will be involved in that. TMS Software will be involved in these Brazilian events, and so will Michael Filipenko from Fast Reports. So at these Brazilian events, they're going to have different MVPs. Lamerson Gomez is going to be there. Great friend of mine, Lamerson. I call him the hero of Delphi, because in Brazil, boy, he has got the world wrapped up when it comes to learning Delphi. My apologies. I should not have eaten before I talked. But you can meet various people. I know some of the others are involved. I think the Delphi Nevea, not sure I'm pronouncing it properly. I think some of those crew are involved, and Aquasoft, I think, and some other. I'm not sure. Look, don't listen to me. Go and read about the truth in here. If you're in Brazil, they're going to all sorts of cities in Brazil, and they're putting in a big effort. So good on them. Well done, guys. I really appreciate it. It's not really an Embarcadero thing, but it is, kind of our stuff as well. And lots of our MVPs will be involved. It's a very, very strong community in Brazil, and every time I go to Brazil, whenever I go there, it's like being some kind of pop star. It's very bizarre. They're like, "I want to talk to you," and they're like, I get mobbed. I literally could not walk 6 feet at their big event. So very, very good. Who else we got? We've got some other people dropping in. Lansing, Missouri. Hello, Steve. And MCP is a model concept protocol using AI models. No, I'm not aware of this, so I need to go and have a look at that then and work that one out. I've heard about all sorts of things, but MCP is not something I personally know. I spend a lot of time doing what I'm doing now rather than talking about AI, so I am going to be doing more about it. What can you tell me about programming in 128 bits in a few years? Absolutely nothing. I suspect that 64-bit will become the standard for some time, and I really think that there is going to be a time very shortly where Windows will only run 64-bit apps. Not for a while, but at some point that will happen. However, what's likely to happen is not that 128 bits for an app will become a standard, but other forms of app will emerge. And the revolution in AI is probably going to change what we understand to be our industry. Am I worried about it? No, because I have seen the results of AI, and right now it's still a little bit hit and miss. But I believe that, in a couple of years at the most, it's going to revolutionize the way we work as developers. I think we'll become shepherds of the knowledge, rather than the workhorses that type the code out. So I think we will tell the programs what to do, the AI, and tell them, get very good at asking good questions from AI to get good responses. I think that's how things are going to happen. Do I think 128 bits are going to turn up? Doesn't feel like it. I think there's going to be an evolution. Quantum computing is also in the background there as well. Delphi should support the community edition. Look, what do you mean by that? Because we do support the community edition. We do try and make sure there's a new CE version every year. And if you've got a problem with it, we will make sure that we will, work things out for you. We make some of the patches available for CE, but it's not where we make our money. It's important to us. But obviously, you understand that people that are paying for the product should get priority, and so that's how it works. However, there will be another community edition. That's what we're planning. Can't guarantee it because plans change, but it's definitely our intention to continue with the community edition right now. So that's the situation with CE. So I don't know what you mean by support the community edition. Nearly everything you've seen me do in these 30 for 30 webinars, almost all of them, not everything, but most of them, you can do with the community edition. So I specifically do it that way so that people are learning how to use Delphi, because it's no good if I'm just talking to people who are already using Delphi. So yeah. Hello from Colombia. Cybersecurity developers since 2006 with Delphi. Good job. Well done. I'm actually going to mention some projects in a moment. Delphi 12.3 is missing the FMX Linux component in Get It Package Manager. Okay, let me just explain about that. What happened was the core developer for FMX Linux, we licensed FMX Linux. It wasn't something we owned, which is why it was in Get It. He passed away unexpectedly. He was a very young guy, and he dropped dead like that. And it was a massive shock for us. He was also the guy that invented FL Studio, which you'll see in my presentation today, and also the father of FireMonkey. If you have a license for 12.0, go into my.embarcadero.com and have a look and see if you have FMX Linux in there. I cannot officially say that is a license thing, but if you have 12.0 license, then the license applied to that. We are speaking with the estate of Eugene, the guy that owned and created FMX Linux, and coming to an agreement with them. The country that he lived in has a law about a cooling off period after someone dies, after someone passes away. And so we could not enter into a new agreement with his estate, his wife and family, and whoever was managing his business once he passed away, for a period of time. That's the law. We can't do anything about it. We can shake our fists and say, everybody wants it, please do something about it. But the law's the law. And so that cooling off period, I believe, has passed. And I know his estate are very keen to arrange things, and so are we. And we have negotiated. And I believe we are at the final bits of legal paperwork. I can't say that for certain because I have a legal requirement not to make forward-looking statements. That's a US law. And also, I can't predict things because things change. For us, example, right at the last minute, the lawyers might throw in a spanner and say, oh, no, we can't do it. I don't know. But as I understand it, we are very close to it. But if you have a license for 12.0, look in my.embarcadero.com and see if you can see FMX Linux in there for 12. If you can, 12.0, 12.1, 12.2, and 12.3 are binary compatible, and therefore it should work. Now, I'm not officially condoning that, and I'm not saying, that you should do that. But if you had 12.0, then you had FMX Linux. So go ahead. As soon as we can put it into Get It, assuming we can finalize the agreements, that's what we want to do. That is definitely something we want to do. It is the willingness of the company to do that, the willingness of our company owners. Idea, obviously, you have to finance these things, and the willingness of FMX Linux, Eugene's estate. So everybody wants it to happen, but it happens when and if it happens. So I can't be, more realistic than that. So Plum King, which I love the name of it. All right, that's my best advice. If you're not sure, email me. I always put my email up. If you want more advice on these things and some, more information, email me there. Please do. I really mean it. Email me in.barker@embarcadero.com and we'll go from there. Whoops, I nearly clicked on something bad and cut you all off. So there you go. Right, so my weekly plug for the biggest summit in Europe, which is the Delphi Summit, will be held in Amsterdam. Scan that code or go to the website, which is delphi-summit.com. If you're in Europe or you can get to Europe in June, go along. Because everybody should be there. There are some others. Grey Matter are having one in the UK. I believe Barnstone are holding an event as well, and I know Germany are having some events as well. But if you really feel inclined, it's in an e-games video arena. It's an amazing stage. You feel like someone really important when you go up on the stage and talk, and there will be everybody there. I believe Ray Konopka is going to be there, Marco Cantu, me, Antonio Zapata, lots and lots of very well-known faces in the Delphi industry are going to be there. If you're into Delphi, come and hang out with me, talk to me. I look like this, I sound like this, I am exactly the same in real life as I am on your YouTube channel or on your video channel. So hopefully, anyway. So there we go. Right, okay, so as I said, I've got a lot of slides, so we need to dash and get on with those. I mentioned AI training, and I mentioned the Brazilian tour in AS, and I mentioned the Delphi Summit. So I think I've rounded everything off. So let's start the presentation. Sorry, I have a sore eye. Let me share my screen, and let's do that thing. I sound very American, don't I? That's a slightly weird situation. So whilst I'm showing my Patrick Romantan says mail send. Yes, plonking. There you go. They're having some kind of little chat between themselves there. Okay, so let me see if I can get my slides up without making a complete disaster. Now, I should confess that I finished these slides a little while ago this morning. So the way these things go, I am very, very busy, and I just finished the slides. So fingers crossed, I've not run through them yet, but I'm sure they're going to be okay. And there are a lot of them. So if you want to ask questions, you can do. I can't always answer because my slide window covers up the chat, but we'll go with it. Okay, so let me do my thing. So it's the 30 for 30 webinars. Why is it 30 webinars? Well, A, because I'm a crazy person and should have not have given myself so much work, but we're doing it because this year is the 30th anniversary of the release of Delphi. And it seemed like a good idea for me to do 30 webinars to celebrate that because it's a big deal. And today's webinar is really focusing on answering the question, well, look, who uses Delphi? Because people get asked that, because for some reason, we're very, very good at being silently successful. A lot of people around the world use Delphi for all sorts of things, and many, many people are touched by a Delphi program every single day and have no idea that it's Delphi that's doing it for them. And that's our biggest problem, that we're very, very good at not going wrong, not creating lots of errors, not having lots of questions on forums. And that makes us a little bit invisible. So we're going to look at some projects, and it's quite a lot of them. And in fact, there's so many projects that I can't actually fit all of them on. Today's webinar is the last one that will be at 5 p.m. on UTC and British summertime. We'll be starting on Sunday at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. or whatever. So next week, if you're sitting in Europe, then you will be Adrian says, will I delete my chat? No. Yeah, so next week, if you're in Europe or in the UK, we'll be an hour later because your clocks change and ours have already done it. Today, you are listening to me. That is Ian Barker, and I'm the Embarcadero developer advocate. It's my job to tell you what Delphi does and stuff like this, who uses Delphi, and explain what the product does, and also listen to you and listen to your good comments and bad comments. Either way, if you want to, email me, ian.barker@embarcadero.com. Please do. People are always surprised when I say, good grief, I didn't believe it when you said you would reply. And I replied, and many people on the chat whose names I recognize will have had an email from me, usually within a few minutes of them emailing back. I am very time efficient. I'm a good time manager, but I'm also extremely busy. So usually within a couple of hours at the most, and generally the next day. I try not to work weekends because it gets in the way. But if you want to know more about me, about.me/Ian Barker is my little vector website, I suppose you'd call it. And today's slides will be available at some point at tinyurl.com/who uses Delphi. Right now it'll go to the Rad Studio product page, but eventually it will go to there. JP says, I remember Delphi 1. Yeah, me too. I used it from the very first day it was available. So it's a frequently asked question when you say you're going to use Delphi, or when you go and work in a company and you get a new boss, they say, well, you use Delphi. Well, who else uses Delphi? And we're going to tell you who does use Delphi. But I want to be clear about one thing. I'm going to mention a lot of companies today in today's webinar. But most of them would want me, because lawyers rule the world, to make it absolutely clear that just because I talk about them and I know them to use Delphi, it doesn't mean to say they endorse me. They might hate me. They might think I'm a charlatan or something. I hope they don't. Or they might not endorse the Embarcadero. That's fine. It's not an endorsement. We're just saying that they use Delphi. Many of them do endorse Embarcadero's activities and Delphi as well. But all of them that I'm going to talk about today do use Delphi, not for all their products. Some of them have a kind of hybrid solution, but certainly they do use Delphi. I know this to be a fact. So I'm not going to show you anything that's a lie or anything shady, because that doesn't help anybody. We want the truth. So I did try and get some independent figures, and there is a little bit of a problem when you go to some of these stat sites, because there is actually a hotel product called Delphi. And so I suspect that some of these that say hospitality are possibly using that product. I only want you to to have the truth of the matter, but actually, a lot of these people do use Delphi, but there are 918 pages on this particular statistician site or whatever you would call it, and they definitely say, it's embarcadero.com forward slash products plus flash slash Delphi. So I don't know whether their particular figures are mashed up together, but it may be that all of these people, they somehow know that they use Delphi. These people sell mailing lists and things like that, and so I suspect that that they are trying to encourage people to buy their stuff. There's another independent site that also has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of links, and they're saying there's like 15,000 companies they have on their mailing list that use Delphi. Now, some of these I do know to be Delphi users, and that's a fact. So take it with a pinch of salt, but those are just some independent stats. Let's also look, though, more importantly, at TIOBE, because it does actually mean absolutely nothing. I say this every time, but also it means everything, because this is actually a kind of statistic that measures the popularity of programming language and has tracked them for some time. And right now we are number 10. So we're the 10th most popular programming language in the world. Not bad, being in the top 10. We bounce around. Sometimes we bounce out to number 11. And for a couple of months, we were at number 10. And it's based on the number of projects that are on GitHub and things like that, number of news letters and things like that talk about it. But it's as good a measure as anywhere. And actually, you could argue, well, why is Rust down at position 14? Because Rust is like the darling of the moment. Everybody loves Rust. And PHP, well, surely there's more stuff going on with PHP than Delphi because it's hugely popular. But actually, no, if you take what their statistics are, and if you look at the top of that image there, you can see a link that says can be found here. If you click on there and read up, they'll tell you how they come to these statistics. Now, rather hurtfully, they said something a bit nasty. They were a little bit rude because they said, oh, look, Delphi's doing really well. And we've been doing really well, by the way, for the last year. Nearly 8 months now, I think we've been in the top 10. Because some fool keeps doing a lot of webinars and there's a lot of talk around, but they were rather rude. They talked about languages being dinosaurs, and then they also said it's very interesting that there's some very old languages. Now, I want to just take issue with that statement because you do get people say that. Oh, Delphi's old. Oh, yeah, I use a more modern language. You should use something more modern. Delphi's really old. I use Python or I use it. Really? Well, here's some statistics here. Okay, these statistics are of the top 10 list of programming languages that you see there. Okay, and the release dates of those top 10 languages. Now, remember, TIOBE said the dinosaurs strike back and very old languages, except C, Python, C++, SQL, Visual Basic, and JavaScript, who are all in the top 10, are actually older than Delphi. So when they say very old languages, why are they not saying, I can't believe Python is still hanging in there at number 1 because it's such an old language. It's actually 4 years older than Delphi. I can't believe that C is in the 4th position and has been for 15 years because it's actually a very old language and it's actually many years older than Delphi. I can't believe that C++ is number 2 and has been for many years, even though it's 10 years older than Delphi. So I really, really take exception to people saying, oh, Delphi's old, Delphi's out of date, Delphi's a dinosaur, and nobody uses Delphi, because it is utter nonsense. And I mean that. It really makes me cross. Complete nonsense. And if I blur out the languages that are actually older than Delphi, you'll see that there are actually only 3 languages that are younger than Delphi in the top 10. Only 3. Okay. But more importantly, of those 3, if you order them by date, you'll see that Java is slightly younger, and Delphi is actually the second youngest out of those languages. JavaScript is older, Visual Basic older, Python older, C++ older. And more importantly as well, if we actually look at the release dates of some of those languages, Java is only younger by 2 months. It's only 2 months younger. Okay. JavaScript is not younger than Delphi. It is in the same year as well. So those 3 languages, the language was released at the same time as Delphi, which the indexes and various magazines and things like that describe Delphi as an old language, an outdated language, or they say dinosaur when they talk about Delphi making a resurgence, because we are. More and more people are using Delphi. All this nonsense that I go ahead and use and talk about, all these webinars I do make a difference. They call us old, they call us a dinosaur, and yet all the other languages in that list are older than us, bar 3. All of them. Why don't they call those dinosaurs? Why don't they say they're old? Why don't they say that nobody would use them because they're outdated? Because they're not. Delphi has things like generics and stuff like that actually many of these other languages don't have. It's a much more modern, more advanced language. So don't let anybody tell you that Delphi's a dinosaur or it's old, because it is a complete, absolute lie. So let's talk about some past successes, because it is important. And yeah, I get it. Turbo Pascal was around for a very long time. It's superbly popular. Delphi, back in its day, when it was first released, there was a period in the sort of early 2000s, and where it was much more visible, shall we say, and much more people were much more complimentary. But then this fashion came along to knock the language. But you know what? Skype, in its prime, was written in Delphi, and it was a program that was written in Delphi, and it was so good that Microsoft put down $8.5 billion to buy it, whilst it was still written in Delphi. $8.5 billion. In 2019, which was a few years after it was purchased, it was declared the 6th most downloaded mobile app of the decade. Now, I'm going to say something though. First of all, Microsoft transitioned, because Microsoft, they've got their own languages. Microsoft transitioned to using .NET technology and their own technologies, and one could argue subjectively that the app was not as good. There were lots of problems and things like that, but that's got nothing to do with Microsoft directly. It's nothing to do with the language they were using. It's just that's the way these things go. These things wither on the vine a bit, and different priorities, different team priorities take place. But as of the time of this webinar right now, which as I'm broadcasting this live, it is the 28th of March, Microsoft has shut down Skype for good. Not just like, saying it's obsolete, or whatever the favorite word at the moment is when you kill something off, repositioning it or transitioning it to what do they call it, like maintenance only mode. No, they're actually closing it off. If you try and use Skype, you'll find that all of a sudden in any new installs, you'll get a version of Microsoft Teams instead. So it's an interesting evolution of a very great product that was $6.8 billion, and now they're just getting rid of it. Weird but true, but there you go. I like Skype. Long story about that. I had a Skype phone at one point. It saved me thousands and thousands of pounds when I lived in the UK calling the US. I was going to show you, that's a screenshot from Wikipedia there, but I was going to show you a screenshot of Skype on my machine. But ironically, when I tried to run it today, This was what came up. It's completely blank. So it's not great, is it? What can you say? People talk about bug-free software and all the rest of it. Microsoft has spent 6.8 billion on a product, and I got a lot of respect for Microsoft, especially the developers there and the outreach team and things like that. They know their stuff, but it's crazy. I don't know. Um, Now, let's talk about some other things. This is a past project as well. Why do people use Delphi? Well, reliability is one. It's rock solid, and you can create an app that will literally run from a thumb drive, and it can do anything that anything else can do, and zero install. You can literally have no installer and just run it, and it will work. This is a bit of a curse because it means that some viruses are written in Delphi, and that can be a problem sometimes. But it also means that when you write something that needs to be reliable and you've got to trust it, it's as good as all sorts of other things. Recently, Delphi was recognized as one of the few memory safe languages. And there were lots of popular languages out there. C# was not recognized as a memory safe language, for example. But Delphi was. It's one of, now I would argue you can write non-memory safe code. I'm not going to claim that it stops you from writing shoddy code, but if you do it properly and you know what you're doing, you will write memory safe code. This reliability was one of the reasons why the most fantastic mission ever, and I get quite emotional talking about this, is the Rosetta project. And this was a 12-year mission by the European Space Agency, the ESA, to fly by the Earth with this satellite, then via Mars, the asteroids, and beyond. It then flew in space until it orbited a comet, and it orbited it 6 miles from the surface and fired a probe down to the surface. The software that was managing a lot of that prior to the takeoff and all the rest of it was written in Delphi. Now, I want you to understand the reliability here. It was not, by the way, I'm not saying that the Delphi was running on the probe. No, they use a whole different way of doing things, not C++ either or anything like that. No, there's a totally different way of programming this technology. But just to be clear, Rosetta, you do not see all the links. Not quite sure what you mean. Okay, so Rosetta flew 7.9 billion kilometers or 4.9 billion miles. It spent 786 days in space, collected 220 gigabytes of data, and took over 100,000 images of the world. The far-off world. And not only that, it fired a landing craft down onto the surface of the comet. I want you to think about that. It was billions of miles away, and it fired a lander down onto the surface of the comet. This was a triumph of human ingenuity, scientific endeavor, and international cooperation. And by the way, yes, I will share all the slides, I promise you. It was absolutely incredible. I mean, really, truly incredible. And my hats off to these people for doing that. And the control software back in the control center was written in Delphi. And if you want to read more about it, you can go to tinyurl.com/Delphi Rosetta, and it will take you to the links. So I'll say that again, tinyurl.com/Delphi Rosetta. That's with 2 T's. And these posts are so old because it did happen a long time ago that the internet being a very volatile thing, you'll find that you'll be taken to the Internet Archive. But you can see some of the quotes there: the proven staying power of Delphi, the robustness and stability of the runtime library in VCL, the long-term maintainability across multiple compiler versions, next to the unequaled use of and productivity. These combine to an unbeatable argument in Delphi's favor when faced with the standard industry pressure to use more mainstream tools and languages, holding its ground against C++ and Java for 20 years. And this was written over 10 years ago. Keep it up. So I want you to think about that. What else? Well, do new people use it? That's an old project. Do new people use it? Yeah. Okay, well, how about this one, which is literally so brand new, it's not going to be finished till 2027. Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam has got a thing called the New Pier Project, and this is a 500 million US dollar project. I'm sure it's in euros, not guilders anymore, they've gone, but it's probably much more in euros or whatever. But this is by the TSA group, uh, and uh, this is a quote directly from Leon, who's one of the project people on there. I think he's a senior programmer. They've designed, delivered the central system, which is made with Delphi. That's his words, not mine, which controls all the doors, the access control, the elevators, and the passenger flows of the entire airport Pier A, as they're calling it, or new pier. It's a very, very big project. It's going to make Schiphol a significantly larger airport and able to handle a lot more traffic. And behind the scenes, the whole thing that's powering things where how you control the flow of passengers to the, border control or to jail or to the gates to go and get their plane or back from the gates without being able to do naughty terrorist things or smuggling, kittens or something like that. It's all controlled by Delphi in the background. I'm very grateful to Leon for sending me that information. I met him at last year's Delphi Summit, and if you're there this year, Leon, if you're watching this at some point, come up and introduce yourself again. I'd like to shake your hand. Talking of airports, you have no idea how many airports have Delphi running in the background one way or another. American Airlines are one of the people that use Delphi. I know that for a fact. Not sure what they do, but they are a fairly big user. Aviavox are a very interesting company. And again, this was Meridian. I think it might be Marianne. I apologize. I'm not very understanding of how you pronounce that. It's a Dutch name again. But they wrote to me and said, I just want to talk to you about this project, Aviavox. That's aviavox.com. And this generates all of the automated announcement systems for all sorts of airports. And technical point of view, they actually overcame some problems with text to speech that was not very good, and so they needed the quality to be better, and so they crafted their own systems because they wrote this a few years ago, and the text to speech was not quite as good as it was. I'm sure they'll harness AI voices now if they haven't already, but they develop their own speech engine, grammar drivers, etc. Very interesting project. And you might say, well, what airport has it been used in? Well, have you been to any of these or used any of these airlines? Because there are hundreds of them. And that includes Schiphol, which is an airport I go to quite often. Heathrow, I've been to many, many times, and where I emigrated from when I moved to the United States. Birmingham in the UK, Manchester in the UK, and Edinburgh in the UK and Scotland. Lisbon Airport in Portugal. New Delhi, which hilariously, when they told me it was New Delhi, they accidentally had a typo that said New Delphi, which I thought was brilliant. The automated conversion thing converted Delhi to Delphi. Good job. Bangalore, Mumbai, and JFK Terminal 5. He did say it's very difficult to get into American airports. I do apologise on behalf of my fellow citizens. Hopefully you'll get into a few more airports. But he did also point out that there were hundreds of airports and airlines in Australia, Egypt and beyond. And on the right there is a screenshot from there, where are we used kind of thing. I actually clipped it off because it was so many I couldn't take a proper screenshot, but there are a lot. British Airways, Brussels Airlines, CityJet, Flybe, Iberian Airways, Iceland Air. Everyone uses this, and all of them do not know it's a Delphi program that they're buying and using. Think how many people have used all those airports and all those airlines, and I would say it's probably more than millions. I suspect it's hundreds of millions. Hundreds of millions of people use a Delphi program as a consumer of the output of a Delphi program every time they fly, and they don't know it because we are so good at being silently successful. Who uses Delphi? You do, and you don't even know it. So some other well-known faces. Again, these companies are not endorsing us, but I just know that they use Delphi. I don't know if they use them for their core product or if they use them for ancillary products. For example, QuickBooks is a customer, but I don't think the QuickBooks app itself is written in Delphi anymore. But I know that some of their other apps are, because I've spoken to people about it. We do have some very big customers, government bodies and things like that, and they don't like us to tell people, what's going on. They like to keep it quiet, And Christoph trying to message me. Bad luck, Christoph. So some people, we've got some really cool projects I would love to tell you about, but they're like, yeah, we don't want to reveal what we use behind the scenes, or our corporate office is worried that it'll reflect on us in some way. Oh, okay, well, I get it, I understand. There's a lot of office politics goes on. In fact, one of the customers I'll show later um, they sent me 5 emails about how I should say their name. Which is interesting. 1Password. Millions of people use 1Password, including me. I really recommend it. If you haven't used a password manager, you really should. If you have the same password, you know, sooner or later someone's going to rip you off. Use two-factor authentication. 1Password supports that. This is not an ad for 1Password. I'm a user and I love it. So I'm telling you, as a personal user of this product, that I think it's great. I know we use it internally, I think, as well. Some of my colleagues use it, but it's a fantastic thing. It's written in Delphi, and they've been Delphi people for a very long time, and are on our app showcase page. And funnily enough, JP Mugas, one of our great MVPs, and the chief guy of the Taurus TLS project that makes your indie stuff do later SSL stuff. He just said, "Oh, what about Beyond Compare? I know that's a Delphi project, and it's really great." Yes, it is. Beyond Compare is written in Delphi. It's from Scooter Software, and they are tech partners, and they use it a lot. And their product is fantastic. If you don't know what it does, you really need to go and have a look, because it is like the de facto standard for comparison programs for anybody that's into development. As they say, it's also used by system administrators to check differences in files and merge and synchronize data. And because they're using Delphi, it works on Mac, Windows, and Linux out of the box. Some other people, these were very, very keen for me to emphasize how the company name should be said. So if I accidentally associate them with the wrong company, it's my fault, not them. They spent a lot of time telling me about trademarks and things like that. And this is Ground Force Spain. They have a product called Smart Hand Handling Software, which is ERP handling software. Lots of ERP systems around the world, especially in places like Brazil, are written in Delphi. And Luis Santos says, I'm still using Delphi in multimedia applications for museums to play videos and touch systems, including kids' games. Thank you, Luis. Luis Santos, this is. Martin Pelletier says, I'm using 1Password myself and love it. Yes, it's a really, really great. Oh, you're saying you can't see the links because my name on it. Hang on then, let me see if I can turn my name off. Some way of turning my name off. See what you mean about the links now. Well, that's annoying, isn't it? Thought there might be a way of turning my name off, but I don't see. Just 1 second, because that's going to be really annoying that you can't see that. Yeah, okay. I don't think I can turn that off. That's very annoying, isn't it? I'm sorry about that. Let me just see if I can edit the name and get rid of it. If I save it blank, does that work? No, it won't let me do blank either. You are very annoying. Font default primary color. You'd think there would be a way to say align it a different way, but apparently there's not. Sorry about that. I'll make sure the links are available later. It's what an irritating problem to have. Yeah. Yep. I don't know what to do about that. Sorry about that. Yeah, I see what you mean. Well, I made a mistake there. Okay. All right. So where was I? Yes. So Ground Force Spain. Lots of ERP stuff and lots of very cool looking screens as well. If I go to their slides are in Spanish. But lucky for you, if you don't speak Spanish, I actually translated it. Hopefully the translation is correct. It looked correct to me. What do? They do handling services to airlines in 12 airports. So really, if you go to an airport at any point, you're probably going to bump into um, uh, the Delphi programs sooner or later. Sorry, the questions distracted me there. Cifras, they have this is what they say in Spanish, and I'll just show you what it says in English as well. So they deal with 45 million passengers, 295,000 flights, 500,000 tons of cargo, and 6,000 people work there, which is pretty outstanding. And they were very good. They wanted to make the point that their tech stack is Delphi. They use Oracle as their database. They use Spring Boot for some of their web stuff. I'm not sure what. Oh, Android. Yeah. Okay. So for the maps and measurements and stuff like that. Very, very interesting. Sorry again about these links being obliterated by my name, which I can't turn off. Someone says some modules of our software are compiled in Delphi 6 running low-level IPO cores on Windows 11 and even in Server 2022. That is the compatibility Delphi power with Delphi 6 antivirus not showing alerts. Yes. Yeah, interesting. So this is another project that is very well respected. And it's widely used as well by the music industry. And I have to say, I don't look as cool as I do with the diamond rings on there, and his lovely cap. But FL Studio, and that's image-line.com/FL Studio. I will post all these links later because of the stupid broadcast software doing something ridiculous. Let me just see if I can. Oh, wait, hang on. I found a button that turned it off. Hooray! So you don't need to have my name on because you know who I am. So FL Studio, yeah, it's a really great piece of software. And Smiley's Garage says, in my experience, people confuse Delphi with Pascal. They don't realize it's based on Object Pascal. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, Object Pascal is an evolution of Pascal, but yeah, it's kind of like C and C++. C++ is C with extra bits on, and Object Pascal is kind of Pascal. Everyone say hooray because I got rid of my name. Yes, thank you. Would have helped if I didn't put my name up in the first place. So there you go. FL Studio, just to go back to it, it's an absolutely gorgeous product. One of the people that worked on that was Eugene, who was the guy that unfortunately passed away middle of last year, and was the father of FireMonkey. So you'll see a lot of influence there from him about FireMonkey. Very, very sad. It also was the guy that we talked about, FMX Linux earlier on in the presentation as well. And what about the real people that, do people really make money with Delphi? Do they? Well, yeah, they do, actually. Because, for example, Altium Digital Designer, which, by the way, is not a cheap product in itself to buy, they were sold or acquired by Renesas Electronics for $5.9 billion just recently, last year, I believe it was, so that they could expand Renesas' capability. So if you say, well, it's all very well, but nobody makes any money out of Delphi. Well, Skype was 8.9 billion and Altium is 5.9 billion. And, you've got to be lucky, you've got to work very hard, and you've got to be in the right place at the right time to get these things. But, it's Michael O'Sullivan's talking about Lazarus. Yeah, Lazarus is great, but it is equivalent kind of to Delphi 7. So look at the two, make your own decisions. I personally believe that Rad Studio offers more than the Lazarus project. Lazarus is great and Free Pascal is great. I'm not going to allow anybody to be negative about those things. We are cousins or brothers, whichever way you want to look at it. We appeal to different users and different areas. Okay, but if you're just looking for a free copy and don't want to pay for it because you're a hobbyist, then use the Community Edition. And someone, Smiley Scout, says the developer who wrote VCL actually wrote Delphi and Turbo Pascal and was working with Paula, was hired by Microsoft. Yes, it's Anders, and he is now some kind of distinguished fellow, I think they call him. He invented C# and also TypeScript. So it was very, very interesting. And Ignacy said, I did my first app for Android. Well done, Ignacy. Good job. Thank you. I'm really, really pleased to hear that. But anyway, can you make money with Delphi apps? Yes, you can if you're lucky and you work hard and you're in the right place, right time. Oh, okay, all right. Well, I've never heard of any of those. Well, what about some famous people that use Delphi? Okay, well, how about, and again, this is not an endorsement by them, but Walt Disney use Delphi for their Fast Pass Disney World passes. The ticketing and passes and associated systems are managed by Delphi, and they use data snap in the background as well. And it's very interesting. I love the fact that they call employees that work at Disney cast members. So I was speaking to a friend of mine who works there as an employee, and he literally used the phrase, and other cast members. Isn't that great? You're working in an office and you're coding, you're writing Delphi code, and you're a cast member of Walt Disney's cast. Fantastic. Walt Disney, one of the best companies in the world in terms of what they offer. They really, really know what they're doing. And I love them to bits. But their Fast Pass is all written using Delphi. It's fantastic. And like I say, they're not endorsing us. I'm not trying to say that Walt Disney are giving us the thumbs up, but they are using Delphi. And so in that case, they are, effectively endorsing us by using our products. And while we're talking about tickets like Fast Pass, then the good news is gateway ticketing. You've probably used a ticket controlled by a Delphi app. They are huge, absolutely everywhere. And I like the fact Michael Sullivan says Lazarus runs natively on Mac is a big deal for me. Yeah, fine, but you can't do a lot of things that you can do in Delphi. I'm not going to argue about Lazarus. If that's what you want to do, good. Good luck to you. I mean it. But that's not for everybody. And certainly you won't catch people like Gateway Ticketing using it. We could lose customers to them if it was a good alternative for these people. But they choose to say that it's not, and they vote with their wallets, so to speak. You probably, if you've ever been anywhere with a ticket, then you probably actually have come across a gateway product at some point, because they're all over the place. And the same is true of Wide Orbit as well, who also another big user of Delphi, famously so. You quite often see adverts advertising for people to use Delphi, as programmers for them. And they are the industry leaders for producing digital content. And this tends to be things like advertising and stuff like that. But if you go on their website, they explain it a lot better than I do. They are really, really everywhere. Tegna are very well known over here in the United States. They own lots of local channels, but there's Rogers TV, which are very well known as well. Paramount, I did see someone earlier that I recognise as well. Oh, Televisia, Univision, who obviously big in the Spanish language arena as well. AMC Networks, just about everybody is using wide orbit. They are a huge company, and there's a lot of it going on. And so you've almost certainly seen an advertisement driven by Delphi, and never realised that. And I could keep going, but what I want to do is also say that there are many more projects out there using Delphi that you never know. There is a little push at the moment by some MVPs. They're writing a little tool to go in through the app stores and find out which apps are written in Delphi, because there are quite a lot. And Diamond Clock and Viking Stories, they've been on here before with me. They did, meet the developer kind of thing. They have some really very interesting apps. There's FrameForge, which is a really great product. We hoped to show a video by them today. Unfortunately, we haven't quite got around to getting some clearance for some things, and they had some music on there we can't play. PyScripter, which is one of the leading IDEs for Python, that's completely written in Delphi as well. IntelliSeven, which my great friend Patrick Pramatan, who is always in the chat, has had a lot to do with. I'm not going to show too many videos, Patrick, sorry about that. Negari, which is by another MVP. Kiss, which is a really great video, and I'm going to show you in a moment. Nexus DB, that is a database that really does compete with some of the likes of MySQL and things like that out there, and they are going to the Delphi Summit, and they're coming all the way from Australia, 2 of them. So if you go to the Delphi Summit, meet the Nexus DB guys and have a chat with them, because I really like them. I get on very well with them. They're pretty harsh critics when things aren't working. I like that, but they're also extreme users of Delphi, and they believe in it because that's what their product's written in. And I think use C++ as well. Sincere accounting software, BS1, Delphi accounting software. It's actually sources available for it. Heidi SQL, used by millions of people around the world. I've talked about it before and shown it, but there are lots and lots of people using Heidi SQL, and they have no idea it's a Delphi app. And not only do they not know it's a Delphi app, but they don't know that it's open source, and you can get hold of the copy of the source and tweak it if you think there's something not right for it. Richard Hatherall says a plus $1 million for Inno Setup. Yes, I haven't even got them on my list, Richard, but Inno Setup, which is used by loads of companies to create setup apps, is completely written in Delphi as well. The Chonbuk National University Hospital, they use Delphi. I can tell that Copenhagen Hospital also uses Delphi. I know because I wrote the apps that are used in there. I don't know whether they still use it, but certainly they were at one point. Other companies that we've come across are Pfizer, Sony, Toyota, 3M, and Morgan Stanley. All of those people have said in the past or that they do or have used Delphi. The same with Delta Dental, a very big dental group. PC Schematic, which is a very interesting project as well. And the Swiss Federal Railways, SBBAG, use it. And while we're talking, we've got a whole bunch of people saying another whole load of things, which I'll call up in a moment. But that's a very short rundown, because I could go on forever, of apps that use Delphi, and some of them are absolutely incredible and very well known and used by lots of people. And as I said before, a lot of people do not realize that they are using a Delphi app in one way or another, and they don't know. And I'm just making my name appear again. That's the ironic thing, is that for example, on that final slide, I had 2 apps there that were time and attendance apps, and there are 4.5 million people in the United Kingdom that clock in and out, and United States as well, who clock in and out every day using a time recorder like the one. Hold on. No. There. They use a time recorder like as a fingerprint time recorder, or they use one like that one over there, a hand scanner. 4.5 million people in all sorts of environments, including some embassies. I don't think I can probably say the name of the embassies, but they're foreign embassies in the United Kingdom, and also some airports in some far-flung islands as well. Use these apps. 4.5 million employees clock in and out and get paid, and all of that is Delphi applications. And the back end for another million people, I think it is, that is written by someone else. But the code that does the glue between the hardware and the software for a bunch of cleaners and security guards that tour around various grocery stores in the UK use Delphi as well. Delphi is absolutely everywhere. And you have almost certainly today or in the last year used something that is driven by Delphi in the background. And it makes me so cross when people will say, oh, Delphi, oh, that's a dinosaur app. Like they said on TIOBE, a dinosaur app. That's so annoying because I showed you we're actually the fourth newest in the top 10. We're the newest. That nearly all the other ones in the top 10 are older than Delphi. So why do people say old and dinosaur? It's nonsense. The language is still developed every single day by a whole bunch of people at Embarcadero, and very dedicated software developers who put a lot of effort into it. Marco Cantu is and Boyan, yeah, I did actually. I really should point out, I did actually have you in the list. I didn't call you up, but Visuino, which Boyan was on Saturday, we did that little webinar. It's written in Delphi, and boy, it's a great app as well. You know, Visuino is what you can do with. Malcolm Chain is on the train on my phone going back to Townsville. Good job, mate. Well done. But Boyan, yeah, he was on Saturday when we did an extra webinar, and that's written in Delphi as well. And this is the thing: don't let anybody tell you that Delphi isn't used, because it's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And the other thing is, don't let anybody say to you, "Oh, Delphi is," and especially Delphi 7 everywhere. Actually, that we know, we have statistics. We know there are a good proportion of people using Delphi 7, but that's not necessarily true. It looks like it, because it's like anything. You know, if you have a bald man in a crowd full of people with hair, you spot the bald man. You know, but you don't spot all the people that are thinning or they've got a hat on. You just see the guy with the bald head. And it's the same if you've got a crowd of Delphi applications. If you're using Delphi 7, you go, oh, they're using Delphi 7. They're using Delphi 7 because there are enough of them. And it's what's known as the sharpshooter fallacy, a statistic. And there's also one like the aircraft fallacy, where if you get a guy who is a sharpshooter and you go and look at the target that's painted on the side of the shed, and you see that he has got 3 shots all next to or into the bullseye, and he's standing half a mile back, you're like, that guy's an amazing shot. You look at the bullseye and you're like, look how close he is to the bullseye. It's incredible. But then when you go and look at the rest of the shed and you see he's got one up here, 50 over there, 20 down there, 400 down there, and actually there's only 3 that are anywhere near the target. And that's the same thing we're saying, well, look, there are a lot of people using Delphi. It's the sharpshooter fallacy for a statistic. Don't fall for it. You need to understand what's true about statistics. Yes, there are a significant proportion of people who are using the latest versions of Delphi. Yes, we also have a problem with some people sticking with the older versions of Delphi, and I get it. And some people say, oh, I don't use any of I only use the odd number versions of Delphi, for example, 7, 9, 11, or whatever. I don't know. There wasn't even a 9, but you know, I get it, but you know, don't believe when people say it's old or it's not used, because it's absolute nonsense. Now, I get it. You know, I work for Embarcadero. There's my shirt. I always wear this to show you I'm talking on behalf of the company, because I don't want you to take what I say without double checking what I say, but it's a fact, and I give you as many facts as I can. Uh, MC Soft antivirus for Windows and Mac is also written in Delphi. Yeah, and Smiley's Garage says Delphi can be fast and C++ in some circumstances. That's why I purchased a copy of Rad Studio. Yes, and in fact, with 12.3, you can compile Delphi modules and C++ modules in the same project with Rad Studio. Yeah, and Michael says that. Yeah, I think you're right that people think Pascal's not old-fashioned language. Yeah, I think that the trouble is that they see Pascal and they think that it's like saying, well, C++ is old-fashioned because it's based on C. No, it's not true. Object Pascal, and I include Free Pascal in Object Pascal, not just Delphi, but Free Pascal as well, is a modern interpretation and extends the original Pascal. But the important thing to remember is that it still adheres to the original reasons why Pascal, which is written about in that book, Pioneering Simplicity, from Marco G, who is the guy who runs the Delphi Summit. He talks about Pascal back in the day and what it was used for and how it was originally designed to be easy to use. And in fact, with subsequent versions of the language specification, he removed keywords from things like modular and stuff like that. He wanted to make it easier still. So yeah, it's great. What else we got? You can always include assembler code inside Delphi code lines. Yeah, you can if you really need to. I prefer not to. I think that's one of the standards I always have. Luis Santos says, yeah, most of the viruses in the market. Yeah, unfortunately, it's so good at not having dependencies and running quickly and creating native applications for, Windows and Mac OS and Linux. So yeah, it's like saying you shouldn't make knives because people use them to stab people. Well, yeah, I mean, that's true. But people also use knives to eat with and cut fruit and peel onions and chop them or something and be chefs. We can't stop being good at creating applications without dependencies just because people use them for viruses. Pascal, original Pascal dates back to 1970. Yes, I already put that slide up earlier on. Kaspersky was developed with Delphi for initial version. Maybe, I don't know about that. Inner setup was written in Delphi. Yeah, we talked about that as well. Our precipitator manager and SQL. Tetris is Delphi 7. Actually, I think it was Turbo Pascal. I could be wrong, but maybe it's Delphi 7. If it is Delphi 7, great. I don't remember anybody ever telling me that it was. I think the original Tetris was Turbo Pascal. And don't forget, the original version of the Apple Mac, the Macintosh operating system was written, and certainly all their applications were written in Apple Pascal, which was a version of Object Pascal. So people, they look down at it and say, oh, it's not capable. It's absolutely nonsense. Now, they did swap to other languages later, but yeah. On my day job, we have a guy that works in Delphi for all our QA tools and internal products database. Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, it's used everywhere, and that's what really gets on my nerves. It's not so much a finding, where you could where a Delphi project is. It's just that they're absolutely everywhere. Now, the reason that we are a little bit invisible is a lot of Delphi applications tend to be business applications. Not all of them, or they're commercial applications, like FL Studio, for example, and not open source. Now, if you write a Python program, your source is available to everybody. If you write a JavaScript web page, your source is available to everybody. But that's not true of Delphi. And so if we had more open source stuff, then I think we would probably be much more visible. but it's in use in all sorts of weird places. Oh, this is an interesting one. Leap, the world's favorite tool for energy planning and climate change mitigation, is a Delphi app. I didn't know that. Thanks for letting us know about that. See, everybody's jumping in with things that they know. Michael is obvious. Now, look, let me explain something. I can't show you, but down here, you can't see, it's off camera, is an Apple Mac M4, a MacBook Air M4, which I bought last week. God, it's expensive. And that's now going to be my daily driver laptop. And I would also like an IDE that worked on the Mac. But we've got other things we need to deal with first, okay? And some of these take a while and a lot of effort, okay? Now, you can run it on the Mac, but yes, as you point out, it doesn't run natively, but you can definitely run it in Parallels. I've got it. I obviously need it to work because I do a lot of stuff with Rad Studios. Well, I'm working in all day long, and I can tell you it works absolutely fine under Parallels on the latest version of Mac OS on the MacBook Air M4, and it flies. It's gorgeous. But right now, that there is no IDE that runs natively on the Mac or Linux, but it would be nice, and we'll look at that. There are things that you can do about it. People talking about Kylix. Yes, Kylix was our kind of runtime library slash version of the IDE for Linux. And everyone was saying, yeah, it was awesome. Yes, it was. But actually, if you look at the runtime library source code, you still see a load of Linux stuff there, and you can still create Linux apps thanks to Kylix's investment. Unfortunately, what happened with Kylix was it came about at a time where Borland itself went through a big monetary crisis, but also were acquired or sold or broken up, however you want to look at it. Read that Pioneer and Simplicity book, and it tells you all about it. And unfortunately, Kylix kind of suffered as a result, which was a shame. But it still exists in spirit behind the scenes, so you can still produce Linux apps today. What else we got? Sylvian Bouillon says, I'm using PyScript and HideSQL because for my dev, I know it's possible in the software that I will be able to do it in mine. Yeah, exactly. Sylvian is a very good developer as well. I've talked to him a few times about things. It's very, very good. And Oleg, who is the guy that did the Viking stories and sorry, Oleg, I've forgotten what your other app was. What was it? Viking stories. Hold on. Viking stories and your clock app. I'm sorry, my brain. Oh, Diamond Clock. Yes, Diamond Clock. I said Diamond Clock. Oleg did that, and it's all in Delphi. And now he says he's got 4 apps in the App Store and 3 in the Play Store. Well done, Oleg. I'm very pleased to you. Oleg, I did a whole webinar with Oleg a while ago. He's a very, very good developer, and I'm glad he's still chugging away and getting apps in there. Richard Hatherall, my little buddy there, fellow Brit, but AWS guru. We will be doing some stuff with him another day. Says a plus $1 million for setup. And also, yeah, JP says you've got to mention setup. Yes, I actually was one that I skipped because I had so many other things going on. So, yeah, it's pretty good. So look, don't let them grind you down and tell you, Sean is saying Delphi apps on Windows on a Mac run 30% faster than on Windows 11. 24H2 versus 23H2. Okay, well, I can't say that's a statistic I know about, but that's great. Diamond Clock, yes, that's the one. Diamond Clock, very good app, very beautiful. I love your graphics and the way you do things. So there you go. Conrad says we need a Linux IDE. Yeah, I get it. Look, We do hear the message loud and clear, and you can email me. I always tell people this, and I'm sure most of you that are regulars know, but feel free to email me and tell me stuff you would like to see. And I do pass it on. I will pass it on to the right people. It doesn't guarantee anything because we have lots of competing resources, budgets. We can't just do stuff for free. It costs money to pay for developers, as I'm sure you're all aware. If you're developers, you like to get paid, right? But there's also other things that are priorities. It's very important to fix bugs, particularly in things like LSP, which has had a tough time. We did a lot more with 12.3. We are not finished. We've got more to happen. But I had an email this morning from someone who said, "Stop putting new features in, fix the bugs." Yeah, I agree, but a little bit of both goes on, and we sometimes people say, "Well, why did you do this particular feature when you could have focused on this bug?" They're not the same people. Quite often, it's not the same team of people who could be doing the bug fixing is doing some feature. There's different skill sets and different priorities, and some of them are even budgeted in a certain way differently as well. They don't even belong to they're like a different team altogether with different budgets. So just because one team is doing one thing doesn't mean to say that another team could just go and help them and drop something you think is useless. It doesn't work like that. Gaza says Microsoft dropped Visual Studio for Mac because of technical issues. Now rely on Visual Studio Code. Yeah, which is great. I like Visual Studio Code, but it's not really. It's an IDE and it does do a lot of good things, but it's not an IDE. It's more like a text editor, and it's good for text-based things. And there are add-ins that you can add for Pascal, which go a long way to making the experience better. But a proper IDE is a step forward, and really you want the IDE to be doing everything, not just bits and bobs and hacking things together. I used to work in Vi, not even Vim, but Vi back in the days, writing COBOL programs. So Constantine says, "Hello from Athens, Greece." Yasu. Constantine, my department uses Delphi for a highly distributed retail system running in retail businesses, including big supermarkets, that has to be fast and reliable 24/7. See, I tell you, the reason people choose Delphi is it works and keeps on working, and you don't have to have a whole bunch of dependencies. If you upgrade Windows, it carries on working. It does suddenly go and break, like .NET apps do, and that's not knocking .NET. It's perfectly reasonable technology, but it is very fragile. The kind of don't understand Microsoft's thinking. They knew what DLL hell was with Visual Basic, and I kind of replicated that with .NET. They have gone some way to try and resolve it, but it's still, they can't even get to the point of Delphi stability. It just can't, because of the way it works. They have some advantages that in what they're doing that sacrifice the thing that I think is more important, which is robustness and stability. So that's it. Patrick is being rude about VS Code. It's a text editor with a plugin station. Yes, okay, it is. I'm not saying it's about. Look, I don't believe in negatively campaigning against anything. I think you choose the tools that work for you, and I'm a fan of Object Pascal, and I'll say that till I die. And I regularly talk to people who are on the Free Pascal and Lazarus team and things like that. I know people on the VS Code project. I wouldn't say they're my friends, but I know them, and I've cooperated on some of their webinars back in the day, 5 years ago or whatever. But you choose what works for you. I believe that if you use any other technology to create your apps, especially cross-platform apps, you're doing it the hard way. And most of you that are on this stream, based on your comments, I think feel the same way. We'll have to try Ultra Edit one day. Yes, you do, because he says, I'm a notepad guy. Patrick! Oh, dear, oh dear. Patrick email me. I'll hook you up with Ultra Edit. Does some really incredible things that the VS Code cannot do. You can open gigabyte-sized files with Ultra Edit like that and search straight away, and do all sorts of things that you cannot do with Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code will go like that. Not with Ultra Edit. It is rock solid and it really works super fast on things. It's a great editor. I really like it. And the Markdown editor, for example, runs circles around everybody else. And the Hex editor and the Find and all. Yeah, it's a great product. So yes, Patrick, you really do have to try Ultra Edit, and you get a license as well. You're an MVP, so call me, and we'll talk about it. Anyway, at least use Notepad++. Yes, exactly. Oh, I didn't know about this. Add a real-time epileptic seizure detection software from our company Chaoski to your list. Thank you, Armin, for letting me know about that. I didn't know about it. Feel free to email me and tell me the details, and we'd love to put it on our case studies site. We've got loads. We have loads of people. There's lots of people. I keep telling people, lots of people, use Delphi projects. Many of our projects were tried with Visual Studio and Windows and Verified Access denied. Some actions with Delphi run silent in the background. No system alerts at all. We love that. Yeah. JP, email me. You get a license. You're an MVP. I can get you a license. So email me and I'll hook you up with Ben, who is the general manager of the tools, and I'll get you a license. So you don't have to worry about affording Ultra Edit. Contact me. I've got a license waiting for you. That's not a problem. Nobody has to do that because unless you're an MVP. That's it, really. Okay. Well, look. I hope that was okay. Don't forget about the Delphi Summit and also the other things that I talked about today. I will be making sure that this webinar today goes up on the replay, and I will make sure the slides with the links are available because I didn't realize that my name was coming up at the start of it. I have to point out that down here, if I just lift it up, I don't think it can. I have an acoustic shield around my microphone. It's to stop echoes and noise and stuff like that. And it actually covers the bottom corner of the screen, just where my name is. So I didn't know it was covering the links up, because when I'm looking over there, I can't see it. It blocks it. Sorry about that. So I'll make sure next time we do links on the bottom of the screens, we'll do it. Smiley's Garage, we're not looking for new MVPs at the moment, really, but email me about yourself, and we'll talk about it. It depends on what country we're in. We are looking for some in some countries, but we have got a lot of MVPs, and actually we're cutting back on a few that are either left or moved on to other things, or aren't reactive, or just don't fit in with the program. But email me, ian.barker@embarcadero.com, and we'll talk about it. Which Embarcadero editors supported Vim motions? Actually, there are brief keystrokes and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of mappings, so I'm not sure whether any of them are compatible with Vim. I mean, escape : WQ exclamation mark, which is a Vim command, not going to work in an ID, I don't think. Not Rad Studio anyway. And if you want to know about the MVPs, go to embarcadero-mvp.program. Thank you, Patrick. And we can go. Oh, you're in the USA. Got a lot of them in the USA, but that doesn't mean that's not a no. But I have a whole bunch of people, but you never know. You might qualify. Don't be offended if it's a no, because I have a limit of how many I can really accommodate and make sense. But we are always on the lookout for people who are champions, and particularly in the educational sector, for example, and stuff like that. So it's worth going. Patrick is one of our Uber's the wrong word nowadays. It's a trademark, isn't it? One of our top MVP guys. He's always around and about, and last year's Spirit of Delphi Award winner, and he pretty much exemplifies MVP. So is JP. He's another guy who's a really hardcore MVP as well, doing a lot of stuff. what I'm looking for an MVP varies. I made a guy an MVP the other day, Peter Turtle, who comes on the stream quite often. The main reason is he's a guy in the UK, but he's also speaks fluent Italian. So I had a dual purpose MVP there, but also I know him very well and know how he goes about himself and how he champions the product. So it's really good. Marco says Uber. Marco Schrick says Uber is just a German word. Yes, I know. But what I mean is it makes it sound like it's a version of an Uber product. It's like something R Us, with the R in the middle, that Lazar Us and Toys R Us and all those kind of things. It's very awkward when they pick a common element of speech. Sylvia Bouillon says Patrick is the best MVP. That's Patrick. That is a very good endorsement of you, my friend. Well, I wouldn't say he's the best. He is very good, though. He's great. And anyway, thank you for everybody saying it was very interesting to hear from the rest of the world. Yes, a whole bunch of you. We've got quite a few people live as well, which is great as well. And Michael says, agree, thanks for the presentation. Very interesting to see just how much Delphi is used. Yeah, it's and actually I didn't even really scratch the surface. There's loads more, and there are some really cool projects that I would love to talk about, but they're like, no, you can't talk about that. Stock market trading apps, for example. And in fact, I was on a webinar for I did a meeting for the Orange County Delphi user group, and Jim was on there, Jim Ferguson, and he writes a real-time stock trader app in Delphi. Boy, he's processing millions of transactions in seconds, and it's all written in Delphi. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool things out there. Yeah, I get it. We need to have a Linux ID. Yes, I understand that. I hear you loud and clear. And I love Delphi. Me too. And people say, you're always so happy and upbeat. Why? I remember the day Delphi came out, I just went, that is a very cool system. It looked like it thought the way I thought. It designed programs the way I thought they should be designed. And so I just went buying that, and I got together the money. I didn't really have a lot of money at the time, and I've never looked back. And now I get to help talk about the product, educate people on what's available, and I try and be genuine and authentic. Some people don't like that style on the webinar. Some people are, stop saying hello to people and get on with the subject. Okay, I get it. Skip the first 20 minutes. Watch it on replay. But actually, the community that we're building up around this is just as important, because I want people to realize there's a lot of us out there using Delphi. That's why I'm always upbeat, because I love what I do. I'm really lucky. I mean that. This is not like some kind of, my bosses won't care if I don't say this. They're not going to fire me, I hope, and they're not going to give me any more money. But I genuinely think it's the best way of developing software. So it's very easy for me to talk about. It's great. And Peter says, thank you. You're welcome, my friend. And to be clear, I'm a big fan of Delphi since Delphi 6. Yeah. Lewis says, I believe that it's not only Delphi, but it's also us, the best dinosaurs that know how to use Delphi. Yeah, exactly. And Richard says we have a Delphi 2007 program running on the space station, checking astronauts' vision, as this is NASA's number one concern. Richard, I didn't know this. Please email me, Richard. Please email me and tell me more about this if you're allowed to. If you're not allowed to, I've got to keep it quite fine. But this is amazing. I didn't know about this. On the space station, I wrote a program to track the ISS on one of the webinars, and yeah, it's really quite interesting. I think it's fascinating that up there in the sky, orbiting the Earth, round and round and round in different circles, is the International Space Station. And even today, when there's conflict around the world, it's still a multi-country endeavor and it's just like the Rosetta satellite that I started the webinar with. It really gives me faith for mankind cooperating together, because that's the way forward. That's why I'm a bit confused about Elon Musk, who's always said he's trying to save mankind. Seems to be such a divisive person. I don't really get it. I don't understand. Maybe he's got some long-term game that I'm not understanding, but very. So Patrick says, "Can I have the ticket to the ISS to play with this program?" Yeah, we'll come and do technical support on the ISS for you. Isn't that right, Patrick? We'll cut any bugs. We'll go there and sort them out for you. I'll take a laptop. I'll bring my own laptop, and we'll go to the International Space Station. I need your email address. Okay, watch this. Ready? I'm going to put it up now. My email address is ian.barker@embarcadero.com. You couldn't get much easier. Email me that and tell me about this program, and give me some facts and links. That would be great. That's a really, really incredible. I didn't know this about the International Space Station. So if anybody's left, they've left something very cool behind. You see lots of people coming on now and saying about various projects. If I put this question up, my email will go. So if you don't know my email, ian.barker@embarcadero.com. But Sandro says, we use Delphi in Brazil to build an ERP solution with 1,200 individual projects made with Delphi 10.4 RAD system. Management of a public passenger transport started with two. Fantastic. That's amazing. Good job. Yeah, a lot of people still using 10.4, and that's the great thing about Delphi, is its backward compatibility. Stuff like it's a problem for us financially, because we want you to use the latest version. But you know, you're doing what you're doing. That's great. A lot of very, very good developers in Brazil. It's like the new. I did a presentation last year and said Brazil is a new Silicon Valley, and it really is. Honestly, you know, it's got a great quality of life there. Boy, those people know how to party, and really great infrastructure. You know, very good internet connections, very good technology teaching in schools, education in schools, and very well educated population. I didn't meet a single developer I sort of frowned at. They were all incredibly smart people, and very young as well. The average age at the conference was like 25 to 30 years old. So that'll tell you, you know, what it's like. Very I don't know English, but I would like to thank everybody who contributed. Thanks from Turkey. Thank you, my friend, and good luck in Turkey. I hope you're doing very well. We have a lot of people from Turkey join. I exchange it with an ultra. He says he'll give it with an ultra edit license. Yeah, okay. PS Pad is a Notepad plus written in Delphi. Yes, actually, that is a very good project as well. I've downloaded that and played with it myself. It's really good little editor, and there's lots and lots of them out there that are written. It seems to be is that the one that uses Sync Edit or something like that? I can't remember. Syn Edit. Anyway, look, I need to go and eat and all the other things as well. But thank you once again for everybody who joined. Lots of you joined live this time, so clearly our streams worked well. Lots of people coming in from Facebook this time as well. Weirdly enough, we get thousands of people watch on Facebook that I don't know about. I don't really use Facebook very often, and I also don't join some of the forums, even though they're very popular, like Delphi Praxis. I do jump in every now and again, and we're going to talk about communities and forums at the end of the 30 for 30 series. But the reason is not because I think there's anything wrong with any of them, but it's just there's just an overwhelming amount of stuff happening, and so many MVPs involved in Delphi Praxis and the Facebook forums. There's no point in me being there. Everybody's answering the questions by the time I've got there. And I am already on 11 different channels for this webinar, and 5 Telegram groups, 5 Discord groups or more, 3 or 4 Slack groups, Discourse, WhatsApp groups, many of them not even in English. I don't like some of them in Portuguese. Luckily, Telegram converts on the fly to Portuguese, but there's so many there. I only have so many hours in the day. I try and get there everybody to where I need to be, but I want my contributions to be useful and to represent the company fairly and honestly. I think you get a reasonable interaction from me, and I try and be as truthful and honest as I can. Sometimes I'm sure the bosses are back in the office go, no, don't say that, but to their credit, they let me get on with it and do my job. And my job is to be between you guys out there and girls and the company, and to communicate what the company wants to communicate about the products and show you the best aspects of the language and the products, and to get your feedback, good or bad, and make sure it goes to the right point. And I don't believe I can do that by being anything other than completely genuine. So you see me at the Rad Summit, I'll sound like this, talk like this. There's no act. I'm not on the stage. Somebody saying thank you. Always a good boost to see what's around us. Yeah, you're not alone. We're everywhere. Yeah, I keep telling people, and nobody believes me. Patrick also put a link for the community blogs, blogs.embarcadero.com/community. It just tells you where you can join up to things in your language. So there are French language groups, there are Spanish language groups, a lot of them actually. German, there's lots of German groups, lots of Portuguese as well, Japanese and Korean, I think. Those are the ones I know about. There's other languages as well. Thank you. Great to know we did choose the best Rad and Power Talk. Well, I think so. I'm not going to say that the others are bad. I'm just saying that they appeal in a certain way. And I think that I really do think if you're using some other programming languages, it seems like it's doing it the hard way to me. You try it, and we do get a lot of people go, oh, we're going to use such and such a language, and we're going to not use Delphi. And we get a good proportion come back. So, I'm guessing the reason they do that is they discovered what I'm saying is correct, and it is a lot harder to do these things. So there you go. Thanks, Nancy, and thank you. No, you know what? Thank you guys, because I just talk about what everybody else is doing. Martin says have a great weekend. Oliver says great webinars and keep on going. Thank you. Yes, I'll do my best. We've got 8 more, I think, and Marcus, that's an emoji, but it's like that. Good vibes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good vibes as well. It's all of you. All right. Well, I will see you again on Tuesday. Don't forget, it's an hour later in Europe and the UK. So, if your clocks go for this weekend, then it will be at 6 instead of 5 in your area. And Yilmaz Gura says, thank you, Ian and Patrick. Hail the dinosaurs. Hail the dinosaurs. Exactly. Yes. We're not dinosaurs. And that's what bugged me. I'm like, really? Look at all these other languages. They're all older than us. What on earth is up with you? And Paul, who I was with the other day on one of the webinars, I think as well. Anyway, see you all soon. Thanks very much.